Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Data Standard Audio Experience. I'm your host, Catherine Tao. Today, we have William Denslow, the CTO and co-founder of Regora. And today, we're going to be speaking about entrepreneurship in the real estate industry. So welcome to the show, Will. I'm so excited to have you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. My name is Will. As you said, I co-founded Regora, which is a VC-backed fintech out of Boston. We have the same investors as like Wayfair, Twitter, Slack, Oculus Rift. We're trying to solve the very broken real estate appraisal process.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was curious, how did you and your co-founders kind of think of the name Regora?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we get that a lot actually. We're not a pasta company. A lot of people kind of say it incorrectly the first time, but Agora is the Greek marketplace where everything happened. You know, people were selling things, information was shared, and so we wanted to be the real estate Agora for kind of the world, really. And so we had Agora and then RE for real estate. Plus we couldn't get the domain for agora.com, and we became Regora.
All right, that sounds cool. And what kind of made you and your co-founders want to found Regora?
It's pretty funny, actually. So my co-founder and I, we were roommates at Boston University, and it was a random selection. Throughout college, we started a ton of different companies. We had like a dating app. We were like drop shipping wallpaper. We were doing all sorts of things, which, you know, worked and didn't work in some cases. But when we were like seniors in college, we wanted to start a company. We knew that. My co-founder was working at a real estate brokerage at the time, JLL, which is like one of the biggest in the world. And I was working at a startup. And so, you know, we realized really quickly, even at JLL, they were knocking on doors to be like, do you want to sell your property? Like, you know, you might have an investment property or like a very nice home or something like that. You know, and coming home every day, we realized we can automate that process. And so we realized if we, you know, figured out a way to reach out to all these property owners, we can do a better job than these giant brokerage companies. So we came up with an algorithm that duct taped like public record data with contact information and a CRM. And we started whipping out all these emails to property owners like, do you want to sell your property? Like, we work with, you know, sophisticated investors in your area. And so, you know, our senior year, we ended up brokering something like $7 million worth of real estate. And, you know, we had no idea what we were doing. You know, we were touring, like Brian was touring these properties with the investors that were buying them. And we didn't know the difference between an HVAC and like the walls of the property. And so we started doing that. But the kind of common theme was we knew we wanted to do something scalable. We knew we wanted to make a software product. And the appraisers that were in the properties doing the appraisals at the time, they were using clipboards, they were measuring things in really, you know, kind of like antiquated ways. And we kind of realized from there on out, like we can make a product around this. So it was a lot of luck, like, you know, just kind of learning more about the industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's clear that you and your roommate knew that you wanted to be entrepreneurs in some sense. So that's interesting. So it sounds like a lot of brainstorming sessions that you and your roommate had in your
Yeah, a
room.
lot of whiteboarding, trying to figure out like where this fits, does it make sense? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. And how has your company really changed the game for the real estate game thus far?
Yeah, I think, you know, there are so many companies out there that are tackling portions of the mortgage process. Like there's like Rocket Mortgage and there's people doing title. And for people out there that are, you know, buying properties, millennials, a lot of times, they're like, why is this process so bad? Like, it's not easy. It seems like no one's really tried to tackle everything. And so for us, you know, in kind of finding appraisal, we quickly realized that no one else is trying to solve this problem today. And so what we wanted to do is take this Uber style approach to real estate appraisal. Like if you're a bank and you need to get an appraisal click one button and we're going to route this to the best person in the area. And we're going to make it faster and cheaper for everybody. So it's really a win-win. And so I think, we've had huge traction overall. And for banks and for borrowers, for people buying homes, we've just made it faster, less expensive, and experience has been better.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's been a lot of success with your company as well. And with that, you've had a lot of great different rewards or awards that have been given to you, such as the Boston Business Journal for 25 under 25, and you're featured in Forbes 30 under 30. And how does it feel to be this young and accomplished? And did you really expect for all of this to really happen?
No, definitely not. Yeah, and for context, I grew up in Connecticut, the middle of nowhere. My passion growing up was I wanted to make video games. And so when I was 10, my dad was a programmer. He taught me how to make those video games. And so, I think going into college, meeting Brian, figuring out we had something here, trying to start all these different companies, it definitely was not our intention to build a company of this scale. And it's funny too, because my co-founder and I, we wanted to build a company because we didn't want real jobs coming out of college, but we ended up building the hardest job possible for ourselves, And I think in terms of the awards, the titles were cool at first, but it really wears off when you realize you have to go back to work on Monday and kind of, grind it out. But I think at the end of the day, I just feel lucky to be able to work on something that I'm passionate about, that I know is having an impact somewhere. And it's better than the Forbes or the titles or anything like that. So, and also to be able to work with just super hyper intelligent people that humble me every day.
Yeah, definitely. And what advice do you have for those who maybe were also in your shoes back then, just in their dorm room trying to brainstorm different ideas that want to be entrepreneurs in the future? Do you have any words that you want to give to them?
Yeah, I'd say just go out there and start doing it. A lot of people, they're really nervous that they haven't done something before, but 95% of the time, no one's doing something because they're nervous about that. You have to just go out and try. That's the hardest part about the process. I also think too, we're entering this weird time in society where technology plays this huge role in everything that we do. And I don't think a lot of young people get enough credit or a chance to do something. I think there's just so much opportunity that comes with trying to apply yourself to a problem. And just because there's someone that's been doing something the same way for the last 40 years, they're using a stapler the exact same way, it does not mean that they're doing it the best way. And so I think it's cool that 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds can come in and really make a difference at this point in their life, because it's super fulfilling and it has a massive impact on everything. And then the other thing is, I just say find mentors. As with probably anyone of my age, experiences a massive amount of imposter syndrome. And so having someone to bounce your ideas off of and be all right, I've done that, been there, you're doing the right thing, you're not doing the right thing. It's critical to keeping yourself sane and also kind of moving forward in the process. And then, lastly, I'd say probably have a counterpart that's pushing you in the process. For me, that was my co-founder, who was constantly coming from a background that wasn't technology, but was always looking for ways that we can improve. And so I think that's pushed us to the next level. But I'd say it's always good for people to give it a go. If you're in your dorm room, go out there and try it. If you've got an idea, go out and execute. It's definitely painful, but it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious, we always hear about the typical entrepreneur, waking up at 5 a.m., working really hard, not being on social media, not wasting time. Do you think that that's your lifestyle?
Yeah. So I'm not on social media. I'm only on Facebook, but that's not for optimization purposes. I'm just really bad at social media. I don't tick nor talk. And so, I mean, I don't think, even though that's like your archetypal C-suite executive or someone who's trying to grind, I don't think that like that's correct. Like, I think it probably comes down to like really believing in what you're doing and convincing yourself like, all right, this makes sense. Like being able to just sit there and kind of grind it out for a long time. The other stuff, like where people are like reading books about like how to be successful and stuff, like waking up at 5 a.m. to do like crunches and stuff. Like I don't, I don't do that. And like, I don't know if it's necessarily the best way to reach your goals at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, I was just curious just because I feel like we hear so much about that, and I'm not sure how true it is that every entrepreneur really does that, but
No,
yeah, great insight there.
absolutely.
And I also just wanted to kind of stray away from the work that you do and talk about any hobbies or interests that you've been able to pick up during this time. So, is there anything that you do just for fun, on your own free time?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely crush Netflix in my free time. Anytime I do have, watch The Crown if you haven't seen it. But I think, video games too. I mean, I don't have a ton of free time now, but it's like that's probably the other like most important thing is like making sure whatever you do in your free time is actually relaxing you. Because if you do start a company or you're even, working on a long-term goal over years, like burnout's a real thing. And so you need to be hypercritical of where you are mentally, especially during the pandemic of like, is what I do in my free time really making me calmer and making me more incisive and stuff. So
Yeah, definitely. And where can everyone just find you online to connect with you?
so like I said, not on social media, but you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find Regora on LinkedIn. Yeah, I think that's the best way.
Awesome. And to our audience, for more information on the data standard, you can find us at www.datastandard.io, as well as on our LinkedIn and YouTube channel. And thanks, Will, for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you
It's great to
today.
be on. Thank you.